So please
Yeah.
share anything you can. Doesn't matter how long it takes. We're all ears, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jerry, and I do appreciate you putting this call together. It definitely shows what good leadership is, and oh my gosh, how many of you are pumped up after that call we just got off of? Whoa. Yeah, I see Cher Bear up there dancing. I could go on all night about that. First of all, let me correct. I am Dyanah Musgrave, and I'm not the is with the husky. I'm Dyanah with the cancer. So
Okay.
I want to go through a little bit of some really incredible testimonials that I've recently gotten. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story because I think it's really powerful. Yes, I'm one of the originals with Pet Club 24/7. My background was in the pet industry, and I was in the pet industry from the early mid 70s all the way through the mid 90s. Had gotten out of that industry, and then I had done one network marketing company, and I had done really well with it. But my husband and I had retired, and we were living our life. We had put away a set amount of money for our retirement, as most people do, knowing what we could live on and what we could spend for the rest of our life. And Pet Club 24/7 came around, and we knew the co-founders. We knew Kurt and Kristen, and they said, would you be interested with your background in the pet industry? And anything to keep my pup around, longer. And I read the study from Pennsylvania State Veterinarian School, and I saw what they were saying about animals. And I thought, if this is even remotely true, I'm jumping in. I'm in, but I'm retired. So I'm just going to dabble. And that was my intention, was to dabble, which I did for a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. And then, God has a really strange sense of humor. God said, Dyanah, you have a big mouth, and so I'm going to have to get you to use it. So guess what? You're going to get cancer. February of 2020, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and it was during pandemic, and it was a terrifying time because nobody could operate on me because they had to approve me through a board. I had a tumor in my colon that was getting ready to explode, and I had nothing in my toolbox except the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. I took 10 a day. 30 days went by. I got a call. I had been approved for surgery. Go on in, get your pre-op blood work done. I had to go through security because it was during pandemic. Got a call about maybe 16 hours later that my doctor wanted to do a video call with me right away. And that was a little scary. I mean, not as scary as hearing you have cancer, but I got on the video call with him, and he had a huge smile on his face. And he said, Dyanah, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm getting ready to go into the hospital to have this tumor taken out. I'm trying to stay alive. He said, no, Dyanah, you're in remission. What are you doing? My numbers, my CEA numbers were off the charts, 9s and 10s. My numbers had plummeted to 0.5, 2.5 being healthy. He said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm taking the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. He says, I know nothing about it, which I got to tell you, as a doctor of oncology, that's disappointing. But okay, but he was open and said, send me everything you have. You still need to get in for the operation, and we're probably going to recommend chemo. Your cancer is aggressive. It has a 40% chance of reoccurrence. It has a 10% chance of reoccurrence if you do chemo. I had said, and so had my husband, that there was no way I would ever do chemotherapy. But I also look at facts, and the facts were against me, and I felt pretty darn good. I came through surgery really well. I was still in remission. So I went through 6 months of hard chemotherapy. I read study after study after study, Sloan Kettering saying how Coriolis versicolor actually can complement chemotherapy. Well, let me tell you about my chemotherapy. I didn't look like a cancer patient. I never threw up once. I continued on 10 a day. I didn't have that pasty, horrible, horrible look. But this is the brilliance of it. I come through it I went into it full on osteoporosis. I was very worried about what was going to happen to my bone density because I knew that chemotherapy destroys your bone density. Dr. Jerry's shaking his head. He knows that. So as my body was being ravaged, as every healthy cell was being attacked by the chemotherapy, as my bone density was being attacked, my immune system was given the support that it needed to repair, replenish, rebuild. I came out of this journey 1 year later, still in remission, with no longer osteoporosis, not even osteopenia. My doctors could not believe the bone deck scan. Actually, they made me go in and have them done again. They couldn't believe it. Here I am, 5 years, 3 weeks, CURED. I can't say those words, but this is where I am. And I am thankful to Pet Club 24/7 for this product. And what happened next for me was I realized that I needed to shout this from the rooftop. I needed to get off my butt and I needed to get this out there. I started going on podcasts. I started just shouting it because I believe that is my mission now. I'm 67 years old next week, and I don't believe I've ever had a calling or a purpose. So I just want you to hear this out. I heard somebody say a long time ago that if you get up in the morning and you say, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this, you're doing something right, right? So let me just share with you some of the testimonials that have come through to me personally in the last week. This is just the last week. I'm 7 years with this company. I'm a regional vice president premier. Should I be a national vice president? Yeah, I should be, but I farted around the first couple of years and didn't do a whole lot. But here we go. These are so amazing. First one is a guy named Chuck. Chuck saw me on a podcast October 31st, 2023. He was on his way to Johns Hopkins for what they hoped would be a treatment. When he got there, he was told there was nothing they could do. He saw me on the podcast. He started taking 15 a day of the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. Last year, about this time, he sent me a picture holding his great grandbaby. And he said, I never would have met her. Last week, he sent me a picture of him with her blowing out her first birthday candles. And I get paid to do this. I get paid to do this, right? The next one, I'm sorry. They never get old. They never get old. The next one is Nancy. Nancy also saw me on that same podcast. Multiple bone fractures, wheelchair bound, basically checking herself into hospice. She started on 15 a day. By March, she was out of her wheelchair. She was also out of hospice. She was out of her wheelchair. She was walking unattended, no crutches, no walker. By May, her cancer numbers had gone from 89 to 56. By July, she was 89 to 24.5, 25 being healthy. See, when you have irrefutable numbers, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. So we're almost 2 years into Nancy's journey. She's over in Europe right now visiting her great-granddaughter. She took 15 a day of the Coriolis versicolor mushroom. And I stay in touch with these people. They stay in touch with me because this is a life-changing journey for all of us. I got one today from Tracy, or actually I got this a couple days ago. It says, Dyanah, this is Tracy. I have to share this. I ordered the Enforce for one of my cats who has colitis. I mixed it with her food. She had stopped eating and was going downhill quickly. Now she's eating so much better. I know she won't live forever. However, I'm blown away at the change in her, and I know that the time she has left will be quality. Another one that I got in the last couple of days, my daughter had connective tissue disorder and is taking 4 of the Enforce daily. It has helped her energy and her appetite. I can't wait to see her next set of numbers. And then this is a really good one. This is from a gentleman who has a dog named Puddin. Puddin is a sweet little dog, but Puddin's been on our super sauce, special sauce, for about 2.5, 3 years, doing really well, an old dog. And all of a sudden, we started having some liver enzyme issues. And I love that he felt comfortable enough to reach out to me and say, I don't want to go to the vet, but what do you suggest? Well, I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not going to give you veterinarian advice. But if it was my dog, I would add the Bucky bites to support the organs and maybe increase your super sauce a little bit. But please consult with your vet. You know, we have to be careful with what we say and how we say it. I am pleased to say that was 2 weeks ago. He had new numbers taken and he went from 800 down to 500 in 2 weeks. So we know that the numbers are going in the right direction. I also have this cute little testimonial that says, my little promise button is doing so well on the special sauce and the mush puppies. She zooms around the house here every day. LOL. I think I've created a monster. I would love more information about the affiliate program. You see, that's what happens. People get involved because they see this works and they know somebody they can share it with, and they can't help but get involved. It's like me. I couldn't help but get busy. And I'm going to talk about the financial end of it in a second. The next one is Aaron and Mitch. These are both men who had serious back issues. Both of them had one had back surgery. The other one, I'm not sure if he just had compression in his discs, but both of them took the Coriolis versicolor, and one, in fact, within hours called and said, wait, what? I'm not in pain. The other one, I think it was 24 hours, called and said, my pain is gone. Well, we know that there's anti-inflammatory properties with the Coriolis versicolor mushroom, and that inflammation is what was contributing to so much pain. So, you know, when I wake up in the morning and I say, wow, I'm getting paid to do this, you know, how do you even, where do you go from there? So let's talk about that. I've only been in one other network marketing company. I did very well in it. And we retired. We were living on a fixed income. We didn't join this company for any other reason but to keep our little fur baby around longer. And guess what? Guess who it kept around longer? Okay. And then we decided to get busy and we started working the plan, working the program, following the system that the co-founders have so generously put together for us and perfectly planned for us, and step by step by step, reaching new promotions, reaching new levels, becoming a regional director premier, and then getting my first regional director premier revenue share check, which I opened and went, whoa, this is before we had Wise. I opened that check and was like, wait, what? And now, for the last 3.5, 4 years, my husband and I have not had to touch our retirement that we put away. Think about that. We haven't had to touch it. We've been able to remodel our house. We're on a 2-month countrywide mushroom therapy tour. We're visiting shelters. We're visiting animal rescues. We're visiting horse farms. We're visiting RV parks that have cat rescues. We're doing all of these amazing things to help and to give back. I'm giving away so much product to show people how this will work and help. And we could not have done that if it hadn't been for the generosity of this compensation plan. And I want to thank Simon and Steve and Gino for putting this incredible company together, but also the hard work of people like Kurt and Kristen, who have been there from the day one, working their little hinds off for us. They set the example for all of us to do the same. I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I've worked in the last couple of years, but the reward, you know, you get a picture from someone holding that baby. What can I say? So that's my story. I am so happy to be part of this company, and I just want all of you to embrace what you have hold of. It's yeah, someone said I look fabulous for 67. It's the body balm. It's the face balm. Oh my gosh, that stuff's amazing. Yeah. So anyhow, I thank you, Jerry, for the time. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Dyanah, that was amazing. And my apologies, it kind of gives some insight on to how new this team is, that I wasn't sure. I thought you were Dyanah Weeks, and I'm sorry.
Okay, they're my
But
best friends, actually. Gail and Kurt are my best friends with their dog Zenta. Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's awesome. I really appreciate you being here and sharing those stories, and even getting into how it has changed your life financially. But what they've done currently is just